Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisance of Gosha Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to morning Bhagavatam class. This morning we continue with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 16, verse 18. And the chapter is entitled, How Maharaj Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. We're very happy to have His Grace Balabhadra Bhattacharya Prabhu from ISKCON Atlanta. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Please
Krishna,
accept my
Manji.
humble obeisance of Gosha Prabhupada.
Accept my business, Lord. This is Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhu. And it's all yours, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhattacharya Astotarisati Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhattacharya Astotarisati Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Nilachala Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Shishi Gauni Jai ki jai. Shishi Radha Sarat Bihari ki jai. Shishi Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai. Jamuna Mai Ganga Mai ki jai. Samveda Bhakta ki jai. Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Sankirtan Jaga ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Shivaranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from First Canto, Chapter 16, text number 18. Dharma Padakena Charan Vichayam Upalabhyagam Prachati Smashru Vadanam Vivatsam Iva Mataram Dharma Padakena Charan Vichayam Upalabhyagam Prachati Smashru Vadanam Vivatsam Iva Mataram Dharma Padakena Charan Vichayam Upalabhyagam Prachati Smashru Vadanam Vivatsam Iva Mataram. Next.
Dharma Padakena Charan Vichayan Upalabhyagam Vichati Smasu Vandanam Vivatsam Iva Mataram.
Dharma Padaikena Charan Vichayam Upalabhyagam Prechati Smashruvadanam Vivatsam Iva Mataram. Hare Krishna.
धर्मः पदकेन चरण विच्छयाम् उपलभ्यगाम् पृच्छति श्माश्रुवदनं विवत्साम् इव मातरम्. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Word for word. Dharma, the personality of religious principles. Pada, leg. Ekena, on one only. Charan, wandering. Vichayam, overtaken by the shadow of grief. Upalabhya, having met. Gam, the cow. Prichati sma, ask. Ashru vadanam, with tears on the face. Vivatsam, one who has lost her offspring. Iva, like. Mataram, the mother. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull. And he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma questioned the earth as follows, purport. The bull is the emblem of the moral principle, and the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood, it is to be understood that the people of the world are also in a joyful mood. The reason is that the bull helps production of grains in the agricultural field, and the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. The human society, therefore, maintains these two important animals very carefully so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. But at the present moment, in this age of Kali, both the bull and the cow are now being slaughtered and eaten up as foodstuff by a class of men who do not know the Brahminical culture. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by spreading of Brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. By advancement of such culture, the morale of society is properly maintained, and so peace and prosperity are also attained without extraneous effort. When Brahminical culture deteriorates, the cow and bull are mistreated, and the resultant actions are prominent by the following symptoms. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Jananjanan Salakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Maha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swan Rupa Kadav Mayam Rati Swa Padantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidway to Gadadha Shivasa Go Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm looking at a clock, and it's called the animal clock. And the animal clock gives a second by second calculation of how many animals are killed in America. But I think there's another one for the world, but this one is for the US. And as I'm watching it, the numbers are going up and up and up. Right now, at this precise moment, 25,867,788,140 animals have been killed this year in America. For me, this is a difficult subject matter in terms of cow protection, animal protection. I'm not a big animal person in terms of, I don't like to deal with dogs too much and different animals, and I sort of shy away from them. It reminds me of when Lord Chaitanya was in the forest of Jharikanda, and his one servant, although Vishnu Gadaprabhu and myself have been trying to analyze that pastime, was there another servant assisting Lord Chaitanya's servant? But the one servant, main servant, is Balabhadra Bhattacharya. That was Lord Chaitanya's assistant when he was going through Jharikanda. So in Jharikanda, Lord Chaitanya had all the animals dancing, tigers, bears, all of them. And Balabhadra Bhattacharya, you can see in the painting, he's standing in the back, kind of like maybe frightened, not sure. That's always been my mindset. I'm not sure about animals. They may attack, whatever. But the cow and the bull are so important to human society. So I felt a little uncomfortable having to speak on this, but then somehow Krishna Srila Prabhupada just kept giving me different thought processes regarding this. Let me say one thing up front. For me, Srimad Bhagavatam class has always been a call to action. Okay? I listen to Srila Prabhupada every day, and practically at the end of every class, there's a call to action. Generally, it's to chant Hare Krishna, spread the holy name, take up a better society. He would always give some kind of call to action at the end. I remember once my dear godbrother who passed away some years ago, Goda Hari, well known at Gita Nagari in Philadelphia. Goda Hari was giving a class in Atlanta years ago. And at the end of the class, he said, now let us take all of this ecstasy, which meant from what we heard in the class about Krishna and our culture and the pastimes of the Lord. He said, let's take all of this and go out into the streets and spread this Krishna consciousness. And similarly, Brahmananda Prabhu, who also passed away some time ago, if you see the old movie of 22nd Avenue and how they're doing kirtan inside, and then Brahmananda says, now let us go outside. And you see that some devotee has a big bass drum and whatever they had banging inside the temple, and they go walking out 22nd Avenue, take a right turn and go down the street. It reminds me also when I was at a GBC president's meeting in Chicago. And by the way, Chicago just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the installation of Sri Sri Kishore Kishori. Those are the deities that I was initiated in front of in presence of Srila Prabhupada. So at this GBC president's meeting, I don't know, it just struck me. So many devotees, GBCs, gurus, presidents, we had wonderful meetings, sure. But there's Chicago. There's Chicago. And The temple where it is now, Lunch Street, you can just walk down, take a right, walk down the street, take a left, and just walk all the way practically to downtown. So I said, let's go out on Harinam. And all my God brothers and God sisters said, sure, let's just do that. So we went outside the temple, took a right, went down to the corner, took a left, and this huge number of GBCs, presidents, gurus, Matajis, we all went on Harinam. I just felt this is the right thing to do. After all these meetings, what's the result? What's the action item? Of course, in every GBC president's meeting, zonal meeting, there's all kinds of discussions and things like that. But when we examine the state of affairs of the world, that's how we design our action items. What's the state of the world? Because in the 7 purposes of ISKCON, the first one, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large. And Srila Prabhupada echoes this theme in several of these purposes. Society at large, teaching a simpler way of life, propagate a consciousness of Krishna, all these action words, propagate, teach, movement. Then again, in the 4th one, he says to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement of congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So again and again and again and again, there's this action motif. I know Parikshit can identify with that motif because there's a famous keyboard called a motif and all the different sounds and things like that. So the motif that Prabhupada has given us is to systematically propagate. And when I'm looking at this clock, it's already changed. It's already gone up by hundreds of thousands of animals killed. So what is our action item in regards to this? And I just recently filled out the questionnaire for the new ISKCON constitution. I think probably, honestly, you must have seen it already. And I went through the whole process. It's very long. But I just reflected recently. I mean, I don't remember, was there anything in there about cow protection? Maybe it was, maybe I just forgot. I know child protection is there, temple development, many things are there, but I'm just trying to remember because it takes a lot to go back through it. Was there a focus on cow protection? I don't know. Then I thought, how many centers around the world do we have that are dedicated to cow protection? Even if you say there's 200, which I don't think is 200, let's say 200, and each one had 100 cows. It doesn't touch the amount of animals and the number of cows, 36,163,973. I mean, it's almost like painful to hear the numbers. In fact, I was looking on the internet and one statement was made that these numbers are painful, that human society has degraded to that level. And on this one website, which is theanimalclock.org, there are some quotes at the bottom. And I saw one, I think it was Gandhi. So many beautiful quotes. Gandhi says, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. I hold that the more helpless a creature, the more entitled it is to protection by man from cruelty. Then another quote by St. Francis, Alice Walker, since we're in the mood of Juneteenth in the African-American community. Alice Walker is a very famous author. She wrote The Color Purple. She says, the animals of the world exist for their own reason. They were not made for humans any more than Black people were made for white or women created for men. That's powerful. Wow. The animals have their own reasons to exist because Krishna has created all living beings. Bijamam sarvabhutanam. Seed-giving father of all living beings, not seed-giving father of all human beings. Seed-giving father for all living beings. Everyone has a right to live in God's world. And I think the one by St. Francis of Assisi, I think it's gone. There was one by him, I can't find it again. But same concept. Yeah, here it is, St. Francis of Assisi. I know Radhanath Maharaj has a lot of respect for this person. He spoke about him quite a bit. Many devotees have. So he says, those who will exclude any of God's creatures from the shelter of compassion and pity will deal likewise with their fellow man. So this animal killing, as Srila Prabhupada has explained many times, it is, especially cow killing, it is the basis or the reason why there's so much chaos in the world. Because we're killing just look at the number, 25 billion and millions and hundreds of thousands. And we're trying to find peace in the world. How is that possible? And I read many commentaries by different persons saying that how in the world can we talk about peace when there's so much killing going on? And from the Christian perspective, and many Christians try to hold strong to this idea that God wants us to eat meat. And I believe there's one passage in the Bible, I'm not remembering perfectly, I believe it was Paul, I think it was Paul, who had a dream. And God said, everything I have made is good. So Christians hang on to that verse saying, well, God made everything good. But I hang on to another verse, Genesis, 1st chapter, 29. And that verse, well, I misused it back in the late 60s and 70s to justify smoking marijuana. Because that verse says, God says, therefore I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and for you it shall be as meat. So then I took the word herb, which, we used the word herb back in the day for marijuana. I said, look, God gave us that. This is for us to take. Anyway, that's a different story. But that's the verse that those Christians who are vegetarian, vegan, plant-based, that's the verse that they use. Because it says right there, God wanted man originally to be based on a plant-based diet, live based on a plant-based diet. And I want to talk about that in a few minutes, the subtleties between vegetarianism, veganism, and plant-based, and which of those three should we kind of put our focus on as a movement. So it's clear that God wanted this. And if you do a Google search, Christian vegetarians or vegan, Buddhists, Muslim, the only one that has a problem is Jehovah's Witnesses. They have a serious problem with accepting any concept of vegetarianism, but there are some. As I mentioned before, I was speaking with my sister. She's a Jehovah's Witness, and she sent me a beautiful video with this beautiful music and these beautiful Jehovah's Witnesses paintings. I love their paintings. They're so beautiful. But this particular part of the video showed a table, a feast table. And guess who was at that table? Everyone. And the animals were roaming around freely. So I said to my sister, I love that picture, Mary, but I'm confused. In your meaning Jehovah's Witnesses, in your view of paradise, do you still eat animals? Because to eat the animal, you have to kill the animal. Is there killing in paradise? And she was just blown away. Never thought of that. I mean, they eat meat and there's a beautiful feast table. Are they eating meat there in paradise? Because to eat meat, you got to kill the animal. And to this day, she hasn't reconciled that in her mind, because her faith in Jehovah's Witnesses is huge. It's as strong as mine in Krishna consciousness. But that rocked her world. That indicates to me, back up a little bit with Lord Chaitanya when he spoke to the Qazi. Qazi was a Muslim. Muslims, eat meat, halal, whatever. So Lord Chaitanya challenged him on that. Said, what kind of religion is this? You kill your mother and your father? It's like here, the cow is the mother. She gives the aggregate of all food value and milk. And the bull is our father because he tills the grain. That's what the fathers are supposed to do, provide for the family. So he challenged the Qazi. And the Qazi had to adjust that in his mind because he had not heard it like that before, which indicates if we systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life, which includes not killing the animals. And I thought about it this morning, and I was reading the idea of animal slaughter being a platform that we promote. One time a devotee wanted to write something in Back to Godhead, promoting, the ending of animal slaughter. And Prabhupada kind of directed, no. Like, in other words, we go against the butchers. He said, everyone is butcher. The highest platform is that butchering the soul killers, not just animal killers, but soul killers. By this lifestyle, you're killing the soul. Real ahimsa means protecting the soul. And the soul is in everybody. All the living species, 8,400,000 species of life, the soul is there and the super soul is there. So the higher philosophical point is that the soul is there within the cow. Just like they used to say, holy cow. And Westerners always made fun of the Indians for saying holy cow. The Indians believe in this holy cow. Yes, we do. But not only holy cow, we believe that every person is a son and daughter of Godhead, Krishna, and they should all be respected. But the cow especially, why? Namo Brahmanya Devaya go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagad Ditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable deity for all Brahminical men, who is the well-wisher of cows and brahmanas, and who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the personality of Godhead, known as Krishna Govinda. Govinda, he loves the cows, the senses, and the land. So it's so clear. But I'm just not sure if that's the center of our strategy for preaching. That's why I have this little confusion in my mind. Because for the most part, our movement is becoming more and more diverse in its approach to spreading Krishna consciousness. And I'm very happy that in the preliminary development of the new ISKCON constitution, there is a focus on the 7 purposes. There is a focus there. I remember Sasut Maharaj, he wrote something years ago, which was a challenge to the movement, asking all the leaders to judge how well you're doing in following Prabhupada's 7 purposes. It's a beautiful essay that he wrote. Because in the 7 purposes, there's all this emphasis on educating society, just like in this purport today. He's talking about, again, action words, okay? It's amazing to me how brilliant Srila Prabhupada is. Just like we have all these, what you call motivational speakers. And a lot of devotees are becoming somewhat like that in the motivational speaking and the terminologies and all that. So, and I've been to many, probably hundreds of meetings where there were motivational speakers, some of the top names like Les Brown, Zig Ziglar. I've heard all these people speak, and I learned quite a few things from them, but they always had action words to get the people motivated to do something. Listen to these action words from Srila Prabhupada. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by spreading, action word, okay? Note that, spreading of Brahminical culture, right? Because we just said that Krishna loves the cows and the Brahmins. So spreading of Brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. Pretty much every municipality, every state has a division for cultural affairs. Why? Because they want people to have something a little bit more than just working hard or, whatever. They want some culture, music, art, dance. Just like yesterday, celebration of Juneteenth, and I was watching the concert on CNN. Amazing concert, all the big names in hip hop and all the different music genres. And it was very nice. People were excited and, most of the songs were about love, sexual love and all that, but it's okay, whatever. But it was a cultural thing. So we want to bring the Vedic culture, which has a very high level emphasis on Brahminical culture. But that brought to mind something I read years ago, which we've all read it, I'm sure, many times, from the 7th canto, chapter 11, text 8 through 12. And I won't read all of the things that are mentioned here, but just to say that there are preliminary qualities that human beings need to have in order to be able to appreciate Varnashram and Vedic culture. So if we try to superimpose Vedic culture on a society where these qualities don't exist, it's going to be it's like an uphill battle, like rolling a snowball up the hill kind of thing, you know. So if we do what Prabhupada said in the first purpose of ISKCON, systematically propagate spiritual knowledge. And let me just digress a little bit on that one. I wrote this down the other day, and I don't mean this to be offensive or challenging to anything that devotees are doing. But I just wonder, because we spend a lot of money in our movement, lots of money, for festivals, Rath Yatra, building temples, so many things we spend a lot of money on. But I'm wondering, how much are we spending from our resources for this first purpose, systematically propagating? Within the context of that, systematically propagating requires a lot of things, the educational platform. Here's a good example, personal example I have. Some of you may have heard of His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, who passed away some years ago. He happened to be one of my really best friends. I had maybe 3 best friends: Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, and Jai Pataka Maharaj. Of course, I have so many god brothers and god sisters I love so much, and so many of next generation devotees I love so much. But these 3 impacted me very deeply because I spent a lot of time with each one of them. And Swarup Damodar Maharaj, before he was Maharaj, he came to Atlanta in 1974, the end of 74. He was the main reason that Srila Prabhupada came to Atlanta. I know, Flavia, you're there on the calls. So this is specifically for the Atlanta devotees, that Swarup Damodar Maharaj is the main reason Prabhupada came to Atlanta. Why? Because he was the main scientist in the movement. He wrote that book, that book on scientific Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada had so much love for him, so much hope for what he could achieve as a scientist. So he was in Atlanta finishing up his some work at Emory University. My point here is that Prabhupada ordered the BBT to finance his existence in Atlanta. They got a house near the university, all the expenses, everything was covered by the BBT. After Prabhupada's disappearance, that program practically disappeared. Prabhupada wanted money to be spent so that Swarup Damodar Maharaj could go to Emory University. And I was there at that place. He always invited me for lunch so I could be with the professors and do kirtan and communicate with them. He and I just had such a loving relationship. He had so much trust in me, and I had so much trust in him. And I just remember seeing that. Some of you know Dravida Prabhu, the famous Brahmachari in San Diego. I think he's still in San Diego. He was there with Maharaj. I made his first recording of all his Sanskrit chanting in Atlanta, because his chanting is amazing. So we were all there, financed from the book distribution all of the devotees were doing, so that this program to educate, which is the first purpose of ISKCON, to systematically propagate. Again, action words, systematically propagate, spiritual knowledge. No. So in this way, how much is that our focus? Because without that training for people, trying to throw Varnashram at them won't work, in my humble opinion. Their mentality is not ready to receive that. I know there's a big discussion about, Prabhupada said 50% of my work has not been done, which is Varnashram. But just like when you want to plant something, you have to get the ground ready. You have to till the soil. Who am I to speak like that? I haven't planted anything in my life. I just know how it works. I've seen it. So you have to till the soil. You have to prepare everything, put the seed, water it, all that. So in this verse, these verses from the Bhagavatam, these are the principles. Actually says it from the beginning of the verse. Again, it's 7th canto, 11th chapter, verses 8 through 12. And it goes like this. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Okay? It just clarifies it. These, which means the upcoming principles, are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Now, of course, this is Vedic culture. Of course, it goes to the first purpose of ISKCON, educating people. They don't know these things. You can't give them the higher dimensions if they don't have the basics. You can't plant if you don't take care of, till the field. So what are those principles? Truthfulness. Come on. It's just painful to hear all the lies. Every second of probably as many lies are told as animals are killed. I'm speculating, but probably. I mean, you turn on the news, okay, you have the right and then the left, and they're speaking two exactly different things on the same subject matter. Two opposing views on the same subject matter, and each one of them is lying about whatever to get their point across. And sometimes they get caught in their lies. Truthfulness, gone. Mercy, gone. Let me look at the number again. It keeps 25 billion, 870 million, 309,000. It keeps changing. 112. Animals slaughtered. How is that mercy? What surprises me a lot is that people are so attached to their dogs. And I'm not criticizing anyone. If you have a dog, I'm not criticizing. And I've always tried to explain the point about animal killing or cow killing with reference to the dog. Because I know at least in America, that's a big deal to have a dog. You see people walking with their dogs, sometimes 3 and 4 dogs. And, they have these little pooper scoopers and things like that. Oh my God. So if you hit a person's dog, you may end up in jail, as in the case of this famous football player from Atlanta who ended up in Philadelphia. Michael Vick, that was his name. He was supporting this dog fighting business in Atlanta. That man, multimillionaire, went to prison for mistreating dogs. And then you see these commercials, which really just burns me up, especially when they're doing their big fundraising. And they show a dog freezing in the cold and shivering, and maybe his eyes are kind of teary. And then the lady speaks in this really very soft, merciful, compassionate voice. Send $30 and we can save another dog. I just become irate. What are you talking about? I remember once in Atlanta at University, and this animal rights people were there protesting on the side with their signs. I pulled up in my car. I asked the lady, "Are you vegetarian?" She said, "Oh, no. I said, "Then what are you talking about? You're talking about protecting animals, but you're eating the cow?" So I even called up one of these organizations. I said, "You know what? I was thinking about maybe giving a donation for your cause, but I have a problem. I see that you emphasize certain animals like dogs and mainly just dogs and cats maybe, but you don't emphasize the cow. Why is that?" She practically hung up on me. Seriously. And I was like, okay, that confirms for me, you don't have the education. You don't have this knowledge. I'm not blaming the organization. I'm not blaming her. I'm blaming me, the movement. How much have we done to really educate society, systematically educate, propagate spiritual knowledge, the techniques? And then it says, educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life, which includes no meat eating, in order to check the imbalance of values, which, look at this again, 25 billion, and keep going up and up. This is every second. They even have a calculation by the second how many animals are being killed. That's imbalance. That is totally an imbalance of values, mercy, austerity, observing fasts on certain days of the month, bathing twice a day. Prabhupada used to jokingly say, when he came to America, people didn't even take baths. They had to go to their friend's house to take a bath. Some people bathe once in a day. Some people bathe sometimes once in a week, whatever. Tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, nonviolence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simply. And it goes on and on and on. I believe there's 30 of them. And then Srila Prabhupada says, at the end of the verse, it says, O King Yudhisthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the purport, in order that human beings be distinct from the animals, the great Saint Narada recommends that every human being be educated in terms of the above mentioned 30 qualifications. Here again is a question to all of us. Where's the program for this? Unfortunately, in most of our temples, it's difficult to do this effectively, but we can. We can actually do this. If we really understand the first purpose of ISKCON, if we really understand it, it's not just an internal thing where we systematically educate each other. Okay, and that's fine. We have to do that. We have to have internal training. But the first purpose says propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large. There's this distinct difference there. The necessity is for both. Educating the devotees. Who's going to educate the other ones? How are we going to do that if we don't educate the devotees? That's why Prabhupada wanted education for the devotees. When I joined the movement in 73, I was so happy that we had it wasn't called Bhakti Shastri. It was just what we did, which was learn the verse every week, a test every week, 2 classes in the morning and 1 class at night. Because the rest of the day we were out, Harinam, book distribution, all that was going on. And for us, book distribution meant, and the way I was trained was, whatever you heard in class, you go and preach it. Okay, and you look at what's happening in the world and you connect what's happening in the world to Krishna consciousness, and you made it relevant so people can say, yeah, I understand. I understand that. So we can do it, but are we focused on doing it the way Prabhupada described it in his first purpose? Also even in the third purpose, which is one of my favorite, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead. And I'm going to make an observation. Let me just call it an observation, and hopefully it won't offend anyone out there listening, whatever, that it appears to me that in our movement that we've come to a certain stage, not everyone, because I don't want to cast dispersions on the whole movement, where we are focused on trying to be accepted in society, on the intellectual platform, on the cultural platform. And to that end, sometimes we modify our approach to suit the people. Now, that's a technique about doing that, how to explain the philosophy in an understandable way. That's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But the essence should not change, okay? So if the effort to be accepted is based on personal acceptance, that's one thing. What I mean by that is that the first principle of knowledge is humility. And humility means not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others. So if the effort is to be honored by the mundane society, oh, Hare Krishnas are good. Prabhupada said, no, we're good, you're bad. he said it like that. We're good, you're bad. So it's almost like, how did Prabhupada explain it? When you take up Krishna consciousness, it's like declaring war on material energy, Maya. It's declaring war. It's a revolution. This is a revolutionary movement. That was one of the things that attracted me, because I was into the Afrocentric culture before I joined the movement. I used to wear dashikis, kind of like Bhattacharya, kind of into that African culture thing. And I was so fired up listening to Stokely Carmichael and all these radicals, the black radicals. And when James Brown came out with that song, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, we raised our fists. I was into that, man. Yeah. So when I saw Krishna consciousness, I thought, hey, there you go. This is a radical movement to change the world. Not to be, quote unquote, accepted on the world's standards, because the world's standards are pitiful. If we're making an effort to be accepted by the world's standards, I don't think that's the right way to go. And I preface it by saying, I don't think. I mean, it's just my humble opinion. As I said, my quote is, You have a right to your opinion, but it doesn't mean your opinion is always right. Okay, I live by that, but I do have an opinion. And I'm not trying to impose it on anyone. I'm just saying that if you individually or we collectively are just trying to be respected in society, that's going to be difficult. Even Jesus Christ was saying, and I don't know the verse exactly, that to some extent he was saying that how do you expect them to accept you when they don't accept me? Because they didn't accept him to the point of putting him on the cross. So if we speak the true message, if we teach the real principles, people may not like it. I mean, I've gone to jail probably 15 times by trying to preach Krishna consciousness. First time I went on Harinam, I told you before, I went to jail, and I was not even a temple devotee. I was just a friend of the temple. I went to jail with Vishnu John Swami. How about that? All 40 or 50 devotees were put in the jail, including Lakshmi Nrsimha Prabhu. And he remembers this pastime so well because we were just chanting Hare Krishna on the street. Now, here's another thought I had. Harinam Sankirtan is the perfect vehicle for teaching this message and for training people in these principles that I just read, which I feel strongly that they're prerequisites to trying to promote Varnashram. Because you're out there and you're talking to people, you got a dhoti on, you got tilak, you can't hide. You can't hide behind some display. It's you, it's Hare Krishna. I mean, what I do now when I go on Harinam, I put the devotees out at the spot. I go park my van, my car. It takes me about 15 minutes to get back. I said, Eureka, I put some books in my bag and I'll talk to people. And I can spread the knowledge to people. And I'm just looking for a few people willing to listen to the truth of what we're trying to say. One thing that I really feel we need to hitch our wagon to is the concept of plant-based diets. And we have the Higher Taste, which is a fantastic book, plant-based diet. It's actually more popular now than vegetarianism, especially, but veganism is growing, but that plant-based diet, it sort of covers the whole gamut, okay? Because Prabhupada said, we're not preaching vegetarianism. We're not preaching anything like that. We're preaching respect for every living being. So the techniques of spiritual life would include a plant-based diet. My critique is that we're not taking advantage of the interest people have in plant-based diets. There's one young lady in Atlanta, you may have heard the name of her new restaurant. It's a really funny name, Slutty Vegan. Slut means like a low-class woman. So she calls it Slutty Vegan. That lady started with a food truck in Atlanta with lines as long as you can imagine. Then she got her first location. Then she got her second, third, fourth location. Now she's in Brooklyn. Now she got a $20 million investment. Unbelievable. And it's called plant-based diet. And people are just loving it. And I'm thinking, where are we? Why are we missing this opportunity to even finance the movement? Doing what Prabhupada wanted, teaching people how to live a simpler life, following the techniques, employing these techniques. All these things are available to us if we get the fire in our belly. That's another thing these professional motivational speakers talk about, the fire in the belly. If you want to be successful in your business, you got to get that fire in your belly, burning. So what is that fire in our belly? 7 purposes of ISKCON, Prabhupada's vision. We can do this. We can stop this stupid, crazy clock. It's driving me crazy. There it is, moving up and up and up and up. We can stop that clock if we spread these principles effectively with some urgency. The clock is still going. It's not stopping because we chanted our rounds. We're going to the class. Clock is still going. Does it affect how does it affect you and me that this is going on? Now, just to round it out, another thing that really inspired me is Black Lives Matter. Not that it inspired me because I'm African-American, but the principle of what they did to start this inspires me. 3 ladies, going back some years, Black Lives Matter started in 2015 because of the killing of that young man in Florida, and then also later on George Floyd. Who has not heard of Black Lives Matter? In India, in Africa, all over the world, there were protests like you can't believe, all over America. 3 words, practically changing the world, still to this day affecting people. If that can be done by 3 women, now it's not perfect because they have some problems with the money and things like that. That happens every time. But 3 women affected the consciousness of the entire world, even in India, the holy places. Black Lives Matter. I was featured on a Zoom meeting with this people from Houston, Texas, one young lady. They wanted me to speak about the Vedic view on Black Lives Matter. Had a wonderful conversation with them. And this young Indian girl from Houston, that was her whole focus in life. Black Lives Matter. She knew more than I knew about that. And I'm African American. She was so motivated. I'm thinking if we could get that girl motivated about this message of Krishna consciousness, can you imagine? 3 people. So can we do this? That's my main question. Can we, I have wrote it down as an interesting question. Can we effectively spread the principles of Brahminical culture worldwide? Should that or could that be a unified goal of our preaching? Can it? Is it possible? In my opinion, yes. Because Prabhupada, one person from India, of course, he's a Mahabhagavata, changed all of our lives, changed hundreds of thousands of lives with his simple, humble message, his simple way of doing kirtan. Everything was simple. An intelligent man in human society should make his own program of activities very simple. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 14th chapter, text number 6. Prabhupada did everything simple. He preached simply. Just like when he was in Atlanta, he gave the Sunday lecture. And one devotee, my godbrother's mother, came to see Prabhupada. And she said, "Oh, I'm a Christian." And Prabhupada said, "You're not a Christian." She said, "What?" "You're not a Christian." Then he asked her, "Do you eat meat?" She went, "Of course." He said, "Then you're not a Christian." He had a nice conversation back and forth. So little challenges, simple message. Don't make it complicated. KISS doesn't mean keep it simple, stupid. It means keep it simple, sadhus. Simple message. How simple is this message? The sanctity of all life. That is our message. It's part of our whole program. And that will help us stop this crazy clock if we spread the principles of Brahminical culture, because there's compassion there, there's mercy there, kindness, it's all there. So I'll stop there. I hope I didn't get too far off subject, but this verse in purport today, just, I don't know, as I said the other day, Anasuya and Parikshit, it's giving me sleepless nights because I'm not a big animal person. I said, why is this affecting me like this? I don't even like to touch dogs. Get away from me, cats and all that. And cows are so big, they might hit me, I don't know. But somehow or another, Krishna woke me up to this. And I'm thinking, should I try to do something with this meditation? But that's not to say devotees are not doing it. I know Radhanath Maharaj has a project in India, which is the Eco Village. We have several things, Gita Nagari, so many things, but is it a unified effort by the movement? I'm just not sure. So please help me out on this. I'm asking for your help for me in my vision of my last days in this body, in this world. What should I focus on? Keep my plan simple, but this is a simple message. And I think plant-based diet, that opens the door for us to come straight in there. There's a big interest out there right now in that. And the plant-based diet automatically eliminates animal slaughter. Prabhupada said that. We don't want to go against the butcher. We should teach our principle, which is plant-based diet. That automatically eliminates animal slaughter. Guaranteed. If we can spread it all over the world, it is spreading in most cases without us. Why don't we have a chain of plant-based restaurants? I don't understand. I know some devotees are working on making some prasadam, plant-based food trucks. And I think, honestly, I think you were there at the meeting when we had that meeting with all the leaders in North America, and the devotees doing a presentation. I know Kalakanta did a presentation. So this devotee from California did a presentation of their...
Gopal Bhatta Prabhu.
Yeah, right. Gopal Bhatta with the food trucks.
Yes.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's, to me, we need to go down that route. So let me shut up. I'll stop. See if we have any comments.
Really amazing points, because I do have a couple of questions, and I have to say that I don't like animals either, because since I was a kid, I never liked dogs. I was afraid of them. I see a dog and I run. Even my husband knows I run like 5 miles away. And I think now I run 10 miles away because I was bitten by a dog when I was in India.
Oh, wow.
And I had to get shots. So since then, I do not like dogs. And I always had this belief, even before becoming a devotee, thank you, Krishna, that I always felt like animals should live outside of the house and not inside, because it's very unclean, and they're not clean animals, and they do everything around the house, and you're cooking and this and that. So I'm also like that, Prabhu. I'm not an animal person in the house. But my sister has a dog, and I don't know what made her get a dog, and I don't go to her house, and she knows that, because she's got a 6-foot German Shepherd, and I don't go to her house. I'll stay in a hotel, but I don't go to her house because I'm afraid of the dog. And she's very aware of that. So at least we got that understanding. So thank God. But very, very nice points, Prabhu. Amazing points. And I would like to ask devotees if any questions, any, clarifications, doubts, please. No, Prabhu. Actually, it's so interesting that you mentioned, this is my question while others are thinking, if they have a question, it's so interesting, Prabhu, that you mentioned the plant-based diet as an opportunity for devotees to really spread vegetarianism. In fact, Prabhupada says, prasaditarian or Krishna, and I've heard different terms like that,
Yes.
And I also see, Prabhu, and it's very nice that, and thank you for actually mentioning, talking about the 7 purposes, because my focus, at least in our temple, for the past few years, has been only on the first purpose.
There you go.
That I feel is the foundation of the rest of the 6, So my focus has been on training, educating, spreading, teaching, counseling, balancing, training, educating, that is what I've been focusing on. But my question, Prabhu, is there are so many opportunities for us to really extend ourselves and for us to really use, different opportunities. Like you said, plant-based diets. Like one time I attended the GBC College training in New Vrindavan, and Radhika Raman Prabhu mentioned the 3 points that really attract people in today's times, because times are changing. We change with the changing times to use our preaching purposes. And he said, yoga, mantra meditation, vegetarianism. And the 4th one he said was going green, which is literally protecting Mother Earth. What is the obstacle, Prabhu, in devotees' lives today that we just can't seem to engage ourselves in this opportunity? Is it complacency? Is it laziness? Is it dullness? Is it rat race? Is it, we got our priorities messed up? Is it excuses? What is it, Prabhu? Because it's there. It's like a ripened fruit, but what is it, Prabhu?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the purport. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by spreading of Brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. So whether or not that is at the center of the strategies for preaching, you remember we had the Strategic Planning Initiative, which is there, maybe not there. Before that, we had the ISKCON Foundation, which I was a founding member of that. So many initiatives and things. But I'm just saying, I don't see the focus on this is what Prabhupada was saying in the purport. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society. So we want to do good for human society. But as you said, maybe our value system is not exactly in line to that first purpose that Prabhupada wanted. Or maybe we all see it differently based on our educational level, our experience level. We process what Prabhupada is saying and it comes out the way we see it. That's why it needs to be researched deeply, each word in the first purpose, systematically. Now we have Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, and I believe they're working on Bhakti Vedanta. So that's a systematic study for the devotees. Now, do we think we're going to take Bhakti Vedanta out to the public or even Bhakti Shastri out to the general public? Maybe, because, person should at least be practicing some form of devotional service. So what does it mean to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge? Oh, to who? To society at large. He didn't say to my devotees, to my ISKCON members. No. First purpose is to society at large and to educate all peoples, which includes us, in the techniques of spiritual life. Techniques of spiritual life. There's techniques for everything. Okay? That makes things simpler. Like, I'm studying guitar right now a little bit, and I'm learning techniques that make playing simple. I'm going, oh, that's nice. That makes it simple. So simplifying techniques of spiritual life. So as not to be critical of any effort made by devotees, my observation is that the programs or outcomes from certain devotees and their level of understanding Prabhupada's mission. What did Srila Prabhupada want? What you want and what Prabhupada wants may sometimes match, but sometimes they don't. Because that's why we've had ups and downs in our movement. Because what devotees wanted to do, what they thought Prabhupada wanted, ended up being, that's not what Prabhupada really wanted. Then we have to backtrack and then change the GBC laws and rules and this and that, trying to figure what did Prabhupada really want? Even the issue about gurus, we're still not even 100% clear what did Prabhupada really want. Still big discussion. I'm trying my best to keep it simple, keep it real simple on these 7 purposes, trying to understand them, how to apply them. So with the effort to be in with the times, okay, to be accepted based on where people are in the world today. Like you mentioned, yoga, vegetarianism, mantra meditation. Well, what is mantra meditation? We say mantra meditation. What is it? What are you talking about? No, we're talking about glorifying Krishna, God. Sometimes I hear devotees when they're describing, the chanting, it's a call and response, and they say it in a very sweet voice. I'm going, please. I grew up with Vishnu John Swami, okay? It's like, get out there, man, and just chant Hare Krishna 10 hours a day. The holy name in your dhoti, in your tilak, go for it. So I wrote down early as my conclusion. Okay, chant Hare Krishna to glorify the Lord. Promote a plant-based diet and teach people how to offer their food to Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna 3 times. I really had to simplify it, right? Chant Hare Krishna to glorify Krishna. Teach people about that. Why are you chanting? We're glorifying the Lord whose name is Krishna. And then we follow a plant-based diet, but more than that, whatever food we eat, we don't taste it first because we're going to offer it to God. And how we offer it to God, we chant Hare Krishna, his name 3 times. You can do that and just send them on their way. I mean, I can't get more simple than that. So again, I'm not downplaying any effort by any devotees to try to be progressive, but I've been involved in progressive Krishna consciousness since 1975 when I started the first Hare Krishna band. And that was a progressive mood to try to, write English songs and present Krishna consciousness. I know Mangalananda did the first album, but we were one of the first actual bands playing all the time. And that's what we were doing. But it got really off base at one point. We changed the name of our band from Krishna's name, Murari Band, to a socially acceptable name, New Money. What the heck is that? New Money. And we played every rock club in Atlanta. We were becoming famous. We were written up in the newspaper, the up and coming best band in Atlanta, New Money Band. But the preaching stopped. Oh, I told you before, funny story. We played at one club one time and we were coming back to the temple, unloading our band equipment right before Mangalarti. And Bhattacharya Maharaj was walking right across the room. And he was looking at us laughing like, what is this? Because that's what happens when you try to be popular with the people. Even the kirtan thing, we have to be careful not to be followers of Krishna Das, the famous kirtan leader. He's very famous, Grammys and all that, but I don't care. He's not Prabhupada. He's not a Prabhupada disciple. I don't follow him. I try to follow what Prabhupada showed us as chanting. You might have noticed this morning when I chanted Jai Radha Madhava, I didn't chant Hare Krishna at the end. You know why? Because I was saying, wait a minute. Prabhupada never sang Hare Krishna at the end of Jai Radha Madhava. He just said, Jai Radha Madhava, and he said, thank you very much. And he did the Prema Dwani players. I just want to follow Prabhupada. What did he want us to do? So to make a longer story really short, I'm trying my best to see what did Prabhupada really want, knowing that I don't totally understand. That's why I'm asking devotees, questioning devotees, what about the way I'm thinking? Do you think it's right? Do you think it's wrong? Before I commit myself to it. But that's what I've always done. Before I commit myself to a strategy, I ask senior devotees, which included Bhattacharya Maharaj, and many, what about the way I'm thinking? Do you think this is okay? I just asked Vishnu Gadar recently, what about this thought process I have? What do you think? And we went through the whole thing, So I would say, as we're thinking how to be progressive in our preaching, tread very carefully. Make sure you fully understand Srila Prabhupada's 7 purposes. Even if you're talking about yoga, Prabhupada was not a proponent of yoga, was he? I don't see it. He wasn't he said, we're not about vegetarianism, we're about Krishnatarian, right? All those kind of specific things. Follow his example. The movement spread because of Prabhupada's transcendental simplicity. It will not spread by us making it more sophisticated, more acceptable by the modern society, because their standard of acceptance, no, I'm sorry. Sex, intoxication, meat eating, everything that we don't do. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, really, really powerful. We have so much that we can do for the movement. Sometimes we think we have covered the bases, but I really don't think we have even touched the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
So much to do. It's just that I think like you said, we have to really see the opportunity. And you quoted this verse, this line, when and I like how Prabhupada says, when the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood.
Oh.
And I like the word he used.
Isn't that nice?
Somehow when I read that sentence, I'm imagining the bull and the cow, like hopping and dancing, and like what is it, the cartoons,
Yeah. That's the spiritual world. They're dancing.
Skipping. Yes. They're skipping and playing with each other, That's how it.
Wow.
That's what's coming to my mind when I read the word, the bull and the cow and the drop, they're like, like that. and then it says that the whole world are also in a joyful mood. And it really shows how much we have. And when I was really meditating on the first line, Prabhu, the moral principle and protecting Mother Earth.
Yes.
That sums up the whole 7 purposes of Srila Prabhupada that written out for us, the moral principles of a human being and protecting the earth, which is the Varnashram Dharma.
Yeah.
Is what's coming to my mind. But yeah, that was really, really powerful.
The cows and the brahmanas are supposed to be protected. They are not. Even in our movement, to some extent, cows are. But the brahmanas, meaning, the senior brahmanas in the movement, sometimes are forgotten or neglected. It's whatever. How do we expect to have an impact on the world if we can't show it internally that we believe in these things so much that we put money behind these things, energy behind these things? I know right now there's a big push for child protection. Absolutely important. Absolutely important. But Prabhupada talks more about cow protection than even child protection. It's amazing. Because without the cow especially being protected, there will be no peace in society. So we need to get this straight in our mind. Like you and me, we don't like animal kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that we can't use our intelligence to how to shape a program like Black Lives Matter that can affect the whole world. So this plant-based diet is like amazing. The door is open for us. It's just now really starting within the last couple of years.
Since COVID, Prabhu, actually.
Yeah, it's big.
I noticed that.
Yeah, it's on all the foods you can
Yep.
buy. Plant-based is big, big, big. So we are the leaders of that. We've been doing it longer than anyone in this country. What is our problem? Take the lead on this, which opens the door to cow protection, because if they follow a plant-based diet, that means cows will be protected. So can we affect the billions of people on this planet? What's the answer? Answer should be yes, but is everyone going to do it? The answer is no. Prabhupada also said that. But if a percentage of people do it, that will affect 3 women. 3 words, 3 women affected the consciousness of the world all the way to the White House. Black Lives Matter. You remember right outside the Capitol, whatever they had on the street, they had painted big letters, Black Lives Matter. In Washington, D.C., cows matter. I don't know what the word would be. I have to show you this. This is really wonderful. I know you all may be familiar with Chat GPT, right? You know what is Chat GPT? It's
No, Prabhu.
artificial intelligence software. Okay, it includes all the knowledge up until 2021. You can ask it anything you want. So people use it as a research assistant. Like, I just want to show you. I asked this artificial intelligence, write a song about stopping cow killing based on the teachings of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Guess what it said? You're going to like this, Parikshit. This is what the song came out. Verse number 1. In a world filled with chaos and strife, a voice of compassion, a beacon of life, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, the messenger true, guiding us towards a path that's so pure and new. And then the chorus goes like this. Stop the cow killing. Let love prevail. Embrace the teachings. Let our hearts unveil. In every creature, the divine does reside. Protect the innocent. Let compassion guide. This came from a computer software program.
Oh my Lord.
I even asked her to write a song about Prabhupada. I asked her to write a song about Krishna. I'm like, wow. So the voice just said, that's just a Karmi thing. So is a computer. We're using it right now, aren't we? We use computers and cell phones. I mean, people who write songs, you'd be surprised how many people don't write their own songs. They have songwriters. It's a whole industry. So I use this thing to write a song. Hey, what's the harm? Look what it said. Glorifying Prabhupada and his compassion. Stop killing the cow. That should be that's the slogan. Stop killing the cow. Now, one warning, when Oprah Winfrey went against the beef industry, my God, they attacked her like anything.
Oh, she got the fire. She got the fire.
Oh, she got a scolding, but she didn't give up. The point was, it's like when you talk about gun control, you're dealing with the NRA and the lobbyists of all these crazy people spending money. When you're talking about the cattle industry, I think it was 43% of the land in America is used for cattle production. 43%. 38% is for the cows themselves to graze, and the other 8% or whatever it was is for the feed, to grow the feed. Half of the country is used for killing cows. Unbelievable. So when we start talking this message, which may be one of the reasons why we haven't focused on this message, because it's going to upset the government, it's going to upset the food industry. So that's what plant-based diet means, but it's very subtle. We should come, boom, go in like a needle, come out like a plow, and just broadcast this message of Krishna consciousness systematically, intelligently, with all research done properly, that killing animals, especially the cow, is very dangerous for human society. It affects the consciousness of the people, which translates into strife and war and chaos. That's our message. It really is. By killing the animals, people will themselves be killed in wars. Prabhupada said it, pestilence, disease, war will all come because of that. Why don't we just give that message? I don't know.
Thank you, Prabhu. Really, really, really powerful. Thank you so much. I lost track of the time.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I just, Prabhu, when it's such a deep conversation and discussion, nothing matters, as they say, right? Just lose track of everything. It's just, wow, this has been such a wonderful topic. I'm just going to ask, out of courtesy, if anyone would like to say anything, would like to share something, because I know I took a lot of my question was very long because I see that every day, but thank you so much, Prabhu, for giving us so much time. And we really look forward to your visit whenever you plan to come as soon as possible, because I just got a text message from devotee telling me to tell you to share with you is whenever you come, Prabhu decide he is willing to pick you up and drive you back and forth, anything. He just wants association, Prabhu.
So nice. Thank you.
So we are
Hare
really
Krishna.
pleading.
Yeah.
Haribo.
Absolutely.
It's,
Vancha kalpivyaschcha
Kripa
kripasindavevacha
Sindhudevacha
patitanam
Patitanam
pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo
Namo.
namaha. Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada ki jai.
ki.
Haribo.
Thank
Hey,
you so much. Prabhu.
Parikshit.
Have a wonderful day.
Hare Krishna. I wanted to make a comment about this chat GPT.
No, please go ahead real quick. No problem. Go ahead.
Song,
Please.
this poem. So it would be nice to make a song out of it because songs appeal to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so than poetry. So if the computer has made it and it's not copyrighted, then we can, we could just change a few.
It's mine.
Oh, yeah, we could do it. Yeah, I thought of writing some melody to it.
I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay, you already did that.
Yeah, no, not the melody. I'll send you the song itself, the lyrics.
Yeah, okay.
You work on some ideas, I'll work on some ideas, and we can refine the words a little bit more. But it talks about Prabhupada, talks about compassion. It's amazing.
Oh, this is so nice.
Huh?
Nice collaboration.
Yeah. See, again, 3 women, 3 words affect the world. 2 devotees collaborating can have more effect. When you put the things together, if we say, okay, this is something we can do, put it out. Even my god brother, what's his name? TK, Tatiksha Karunika, famous musician in this country. He has a song about love for the animals, compassion for the animals. I remember that song. It's very beautiful, but it gets buried under all this. It's one of his songs. Okay, so no, it's a great song. If that's the message we're trying to put out, that song is like a good song. Compassion for the animals, beautiful song. So yeah, Parikshit, I'll send it to you today.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai
Have a
Srila
wonderful
Prabhupada ki
day.
jai. Thank you.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hari.
Hare Krishna.